Different stakeholders may have different educational concerns. For instance, teachers are interested to know what new technologies could facilitate student learning. Students are interested to know what learning strategies they can use to improve learning outcomes. To obtain information that helps answer questions, we can consult experts, use one's own experience, or rely on logical reasoning. The answers these approaches provide, however, are not always reliable. In order to obtain accurate and reliable information, we need to use the scientific method. The scientific method is a method of knowing. Researchers formulate tentative and testable hypotheses. All conclusions made by this method are tentative and subject to change as new evidence is uncovered. Researchers have freedom of thought and the procedure is as open as possible. Finally, the result is replicable if you follow these steps. Research means careful and systematic investigation in some field of knowledge. Most often, an application of the scientific method is to study a problem that needs to be solved. Here is a list of different research methodologies. We will learn each methodology in detail later this semester. First, let's introduce three major research methods. Quantitative research. Data primarily deals with numbers. Researchers are detached observers. They assume that feelings and facts can be separated and there is one single reality. Finally, they want to generalize results to a larger population most of the time. In contrast, qualitative researchers describe their data using words. They are immersed researchers and they assume multiple realities of the world. They target that particular situation. Mixed methods research is a combination of the above two methods. Two approaches can be combined in one study in different ways with a mixed methods perspective. We will focus on quantitative and qualitative research. Mixed methods research will be discussed in one chapter at the end of this course. There are always other ways to categorize different types of research studies. Let's look at some specific research designs. They can be quantitative or qualitative, depending on the specific design. Experimental design is the most conclusive method of research. Researchers establish different treatments and study their effects, leading to clear interpretations. Researchers want to know the influence of the instruction formats, online, face-to-face, and blended, on students' achievement. They can randomly assign students into three groups to study the effect. Single-subject research is another form of experimental research, and it involves intensive study of a single individual or a single group over time. For instance, you can conduct a study to investigate a special education student's behavioral changes after intervention services, such as IEP, are utilized. Correlational research determines the relationship between two or more variables. It could help make better predictions. No manipulation or intervention is involved, so it describes naturally existing relationships. For instance, a teacher wants to know what factors can help predict children's math achievement levels. She or he needs to collect all kinds of information on children that may be related to math achievement, such as gender, study habits, socioeconomic status, and class environment. Then she or he examines the data to see if any relationships exist. Causal comparative studies determine the causes for or consequences of differences between groups of people. The interpretations are limited because the investigator cannot say conclusively whether a particular factor is a cause or a result of the behaviors. It is similar to correlational research. For example, we can check gender difference on children's behavioral and emotional problems. These are natural groups, and the manipulation of these groups is impossible. The above three methodologies are predominantly quantitative based. Survey research determines the specific characteristics of a group. Researchers can release the survey online, by phone, by email, and in person. With the popularity of the Internet-based survey is convenient for researchers to collect survey data. Many useful tools are available, such as SurveyMonkey or Google Forms. We will discuss more on survey research in Chapter 17. The following challenges need to be addressed. The questions should be clear and should not lead to any misconceptions. Participants should answer the questions with thoughtfulness and honesty. The response rate should be high enough to make valid interpretation of the results. It can be quantitative or qualitative or mixed methods studies. Ethnographic and historical research are qualitative research. Ethnographic research emphasizes documenting or portraying the everyday experiences of individuals by observing and interviewing them and others relevant to the study. For instance, we are interested in this research question: how do physical education teachers teach their subject? We want to observe the daily class activities. We need to interview the teachers and the students to obtain pertinent information to answer our question. Historical research studies the past. It often uses existing documents or interviews to reconstruct what happened in the past. A curriculum coordinator might want to know what sorts of arguments have been made in the past to determine what should be included in the social studies curriculum. He or she could read the related documents in the past on this topic. Action research is different from the above methodologies in two ways. First, generalizing the results to other settings is minimal. Researchers are interested in changing conditions in a particular situation. Researchers are actively involved in the process. Any of the previous methodologies can be used in action research. Thus, action research can be quantitative, qualitative, or mixed methods. For instance, a special education teacher is interested in identifying better ways to help students with learning disabilities in his or her classroom. He or she is interested in the research process. Students who plan to obtain an EDD degree will work on an action research dissertation later. There are two basic types of evaluation research. Formative evaluation improves the object being evaluated, and summative evaluation examines the effects or outcomes of an object. Both can be used in one evaluation study. A school district is implementing a new technology. Researchers would like to see how that influences students' achievement and engagement levels at school. They want to improve that through their program, which is the formative part. They also want to check the effect or the outcomes after the program, which is the summative part. Again, evaluation research can use previous methodologies. Finally, I want to give a brief introduction on meta-analysis, which locates all the studies on a topic and synthesizes results using statistical techniques. For instance, many studies investigate the gender differences on children's behavioral and emotional problems. We can combine the study results together to receive one result. It is quantitative based. As you can see, the methodologies are not exclusive to each other. For instance, you can implement a survey in an experimental design. Here are the steps in the research process. The entire process may be unclear to you at the moment, but will become clear as we proceed to each step in different chapters.